Hello and welcome to week 3 of the Country Garden Crochet Along, and this week we're going to be adding the lace wave stitch to what we made last week. So let's get started. Okay, so last week we finished at row 18 and I finished here. So I'm going to join in my first green here and give it a quick chain one, and then we'll turn over. Okay, so the lace wave stitch, we're going to start nice and easy, working only in the front loop. You're going to single crochet in every stitch across. Okay, so row 19 is just a row of single crochet, all made in the front loop only. Okay, so we're sticking with the 5mm hook, so we haven't changed hook size at all, and we're not going to, so we're just sticking with the same hook throughout. Okay, so front loop only and single crochet. In just every single stitch across. So I'm going to go finish that and I shall come back to you at the end of row 19. Okay, so end of row 19 and we've got all our single crochet in the front loop only. So the back will look like this with this ridge coming across. Okay, so on to row 20. Okay, so row 20 we're going to start our lace portion. So we're going to turn and chain one, and in the first stitch we're going to make a treble turning chain. So you can make this any way you like, but it counts as your first stitch. So we're going to be working in both loops for this row. So I like the alternate treble turning chain, so I'll put a link in the description if you want to see how to make this. And there we go. Okay, so that's our first stitch. Now we chain one. We're going to skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after we're going to make a treble crochet. Chain one, skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that we're going to make a double crochet. Chain one, skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that we're going to make a half double crochet. Okay, so the next 3 stitches we're going to make a single crochet in each. So no skip stitches here, just a single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. 2 and 3. Then in the next stitch, half double crochet. Okay, so your single crochets here should line up with this 3 together stitch that we did last week. So they should line up. Okay, so after our half double crochet, chain one, skip the next stitch, and then double crochet in the next stitch. Excuse my dogs. Chain one, skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that we treble crochet. Then chain one, skip the next stitch, and treble crochet again. Okay, and you should end up looking like this. So our pattern, we start with the trebles, go all the way down to our half double crochets and singles, and then we come back up. Okay, so after the treble we're going to chain one, skip the next stitch, and then make a treble. Okay, so your treble, space treble, should line up with your 3 double crochet in 1 stitch that we did last week. So those should line up. Okay, so now we're going to start decreasing our stitch size. So chain 1, skip the next stitch, double crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and then half double crochet. And now in the next 3 stitches we're going to make a single crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And then in the next stitch we're going to half double crochet. And there's the bottom of our ripple. Okay, so we've not got far to go to the end of the row. So after our half double crochet, we chain 1, skip the next stitch, and then double crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, treble crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and then treble in the next. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, then double crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch, half double crochet, and then in the next 3 stitches single crochet. So 1, 2 and 3 single crochet, then half double crochet in the next stitch, and then we've got our last few stitches. So chain 1, skip the next stitch, and then double crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch, half double crochet, not half double crochet, treble crochet even, chain 1, skip the next stitch, and that should bring you to the last stitch of the row, and you're going to treble crochet in that last stitch. And that is row 20 complete. So you should have these lovely lacy waves. And then we're on to row 21. So row 21, you're going to turn, chain 1. So we're sticking with the same colour, and for this row we work in both loops, and you're going to single crochet in every stitch and every chain space. Okay, so chain 1, single crochet in the first stitch, then single crochet into the chain space, and then single crochet into the next stitch, and just do that for the entire row. So using both loops, single crochet into top of every stitch and into every chain space across the row. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you at the end of the row and when we'll be changing colours to our second green. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so I'm at the end of row 21, and in the final stitch, in those last 2 loops, I'm going to change colour to my next green and just pull through. So then I'm going to turn and chain 1, just pull that back tight. Okay, so this row we're going to be working in the back loop only. Okay, so in that first stitch I'm going to make a single crochet in the back loop. Just pop a stitch marker in there. Okay, so with the colour we just finished, so this first green, if you've been carrying up the size for your last few weeks, you can carry on doing that, or you can cut it off. I don't particularly like carrying that far, so I'm going to cut mine off. But if you prefer to carry, that's absolutely fine, because your carried threads will get hidden later so I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so first stitch, single crochet in the back loop only, then carry on in the back loop only and make a single crochet in every stitch. Okay, so our first row for this week we did here, and you can see it created this ridge. We're going to be doing the same, and we're creating this ridge here. So this was done in the front loop, but because we've done 3 rows, we now need to make this row in the back loop to have this ridge on the front. Okay, so just single crochet in the back loop only in every stitch for this row. Okay, and get that nice ridge forming on the front. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you when I get to the end of the row. Okay, so that's the end of row 22, and we've just got a single crochet, back loop only, creating that lovely ridge. So now I'm going to turn and chain 1. Okay, so row 23, we're back to our lace section. So we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, pop a stitch marker in, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So what we're doing now is kind of the opposite of what we did in row 20. Okay, so where row 20 is high, row 23 is low. So we start with the single crochet. Okay, so single crochet in the first 3 stitches, and in the next stitch you're going to half double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet in the next one. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and in the next stitch treble crochet. So this row is all done in back loop, in both loops. Okay. Chain 1, skip the next stitch and make another treble. So this should line up with the single crochet that we did in row 20. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, then double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, where are we? Skip a stitch, half double crochet. Okay, and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. So those 3 single crochet should sit above the 2 trebles in row 20. In the next stitch you're going to half double crochet. Then chain 1, skip a stitch and double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch and treble. Chain 1, skip the next stitch and then make another treble crochet. And this is how we're going to finish the row in this pattern. Chain 1, skip a stitch, then double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, then half double crochet. And then in the next 3 stitches you make a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and then half double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, then double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, treble crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and then make another treble crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, half double crochet, and then you should have 3 stitches left, and then you're going to single crochet in each. And that is row 23 finished. So there we go. So we should have a fairly straight top edge. That will come up. And there is your repeats for your lace wave stitch. So we've got one more row for this colour, and then we're going to change colour again. So row 24, nice and easy. You're just going to turn, chain 1, and in both loops single crochet. Okay, so this whole row is made in both loops, and you're going to single crochet in the top of every stitch and into every chain space. Okay, so it's a repeat of row 21. 1, 2, 3, and into the chain space. No, it's 4. I missed the half double crochet. There we go. 4 single crochet and then single crochet into the chain space. So single crochet into the top of that stitch and then into the chain space. And do it all the way across. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with that. And then at the end of the row we're going to change colours. So I shall be back in a moment. Finished row 24, and in the last 2 loops I'm going to change colour to our third green. So I'm going to join with that, turn and chain 1. Okay, so for this colour we're going to be repeating rows 19 to 21. So exactly the same as we did for our first green. Okay, so you start with a chain 1 and then working in the front loop only, single crochet in each stitch across. Ooh, I picked something up there. There we go. So row 19 is single crochet in the front loop only into every stitch. So you'll get the ridge forming on the back, which is where the ridges are for our last couple of colour changes. And then row 20, sorry, the next row, which is row 26, is a repeat of row 20, which is our lace section where you start with the treble turning chain. And then row 27 is a row of single crochet in both loops only. And then that will finish this week. So you'll finish it on row 27. So when you've done that, if you haven't already, then you need to make another 2 of our flowers. Okay, so if you need a reminder of how the flowers are made, then carry on watching. But just like before, we're not going to attach them, we'll do that later. So once you've made those, then that's the end of this week, and then I shall see you next week for week 4. And here's the reminder of how to make the flowers. We start our daisy with a magic circle, and into that circle we're just going to chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. So inside our magic circle we're then going to make 6 single crochet. Just get the stitch markers out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then I'm just going to pull the loop closed and I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet and just slip stitch closed. Okay, so that's our yellow done with, but when you cut off, leave a nice long tail because we'll be using that to attach it to our lawn. And then just pull nice and closed, and there's our centre. Okay, so I'm going to take away that yellow and I'm going to bring in this off-white that I'm using for the petals. Now remember that this last loop here is a slip stitch, it's not a stitch, so you're not going to be working into that. We're only going to be working into our 6th single crochet. Okay, so get your hook into any single crochet of the round and then just pull your new colour through and chain 1. Okay, that chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. Into the same stitch that you joined into, oops, nope, yarn over, into the stitch you joined into, you're going to make a half double crochet. So this is your first stitch. Let's mark that. Okay, so still working into that same stitch, you're also going to make a double crochet and another half double crochet. Oops, let's grab some yarn. Okay, so that's your petal. Half double crochet, half double crochet. Into your next single crochet, you're going to slip stitch. Okay, and working into the same stitch as the slip stitch, half double crochet, double crochet, and half double crochet, all in that same stitch. And there's our second petal. And then slip stitch into your next single crochet. So I skipped over that slip stitch to make sure that doesn't get worked into. So we're going to do the same in every petal round. So you slip stitch into your next single crochet, and in that same stitch you make a half double crochet, a double crochet and a half double crochet, and then repeat all the way around. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this daisy, and we should have 6 petals in total. So 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch into the next one. This can be a bit tight in places, but it all works out for a nice tight looking flower. Half double crochet, double crochet, and a half double crochet. Slip stitch into the next single crochet, and working in that same stitch, got a half double, double, and another half double, and then into our last single crochet, slip stitch, and then half double, double, and last stitch is the half double. Okay, and then just to finish the round, I'm just going to slip stitch into that first single crochet again. I didn't really need the stitch marker, but it's just a good way of not losing where you are. There we go. So now I can cut that off, and we have our first daisy. So weave in your petal ends and weave in one of your middle ends, and just leave one of those middle tails free so that you can use that to sew this onto your lawn later. So you'll end up a nice lovely flower like that. Okay, so